Welcome to Partners Dog School, one of the highest rated training facilities in the Southwest region. Here at our facilities, we've truly seen it all because we have worked with over 55,000 dogs and have successfully built a better relationship with their pet parents. Today we will be checking in on Shaina and Chris, two parents struggling to manage their dogs at home. Let's go see how we can help them out.
I'm Chris.
I'm Shaina Delbridge, and this is Bojangles, Boone and Cooper. We came to Partners to kind of get our household under control. We've got 3 crazy extra large Great Danes, and we just kind of wanted someone to help us manage the chaos a little bit. So Boone's personality is, he's a giant goofball. He's very energetic, very playful. But he's also the one who gives us the most trouble out on walks and in the front yard. He's extremely protective. Cooper is more of our chill, laid back, likes to watch things from afar, but he also gets in the mix too. He's pretty playful as well, them being only 2 and 3 years old. We have one crazy energetic and then one kind of chill, laid back dog.
Hi, I'm Christopher Oosthuizen. I'm the COO of Partners Dog School, and I'm very happy that we have Boone and Cooper in for our Transform Camp, which is a phenomenal program, and they're gonna get a lot of great training in the process, which is important because they have a bit of a delicate situation at home. There's a lot of dynamics going on here. There's a lot of things that we're gonna need to work through, and really a lot of moving parts, both at home as well as with each individual dog. And it's going to be tough for Chase to manage all of these different aspects to ensuring a successful training journey. So let's talk a little bit more about how we're going to be doing that and exactly what steps we need to take to ensure that Chase is successful with Boone and Cooper, and of course that their parents are successful when they take them back home.
Hello, my name is Chase. I'm one of our senior instructors here at Partners Dog Training for our Shea location. I'm going to be the responsible trainer on this training journey for Cooper and Boone. Now let's go ahead and dive in to see what his owners need help with.
So right now, let's get into both dogs together and kind of, those behaviors we want to address, but then again, independently, because if I remember, I know one of them is kind of a resource guarder, so I know they probably have a few different behaviors that I'll address separately. But going off the both of them together, kind of just go into kind of that detail, hi buddy, with that reactivity, everything out on walks and stuff like that.
So they're both dog reactive on walks, more so Boone than Cooper. Cooper will let 8 out of 10 dogs go by and be fine. But then there are those 2 that as soon as they bark at him, he's like, it's game on. And so he starts barking back at them and pulling and lunging and all that fun stuff. But Boone is definitely more dog reactive on walks. And then even in the house, when they get reactive at the door, they're all reactive at the door. But then Cooper will be reactive at the door, but then turn and redirect into one of the other 2 dogs.
So I just finished my check-in with Cooper and Boone. Definitely, some excitement there. When I did my evaluation with them, I only really saw the good, the sweet side of the 2 dogs. So I was definitely curious of when they came in to, really just understand the behaviors that I was going to be addressing, seeing, and everything like that. But today when they came in for their check-in, I definitely saw a lot more of their behavioral issues that the owners had kind of already mentioned to me. Very reactive when we had the dogs walking in this little lounge area, when we had them through that auditorium, barking, lunging, kind of charging the thresholds of our glass windows, as you can kind of see in the back right there. Another thing that I thought was definitely interesting, Cooper, the bigger Great Dane, definitely the way he kind of was positioning his body, corralling Boone away from the owners, the little girl that they have as well. So I could definitely start to notice and see some of the territorial and possessiveness that they both kind of have. Just being able to safely handle and manage 160, 140 pound worth of dog, especially if I'm working both of them together with the temperaments that they have. So a lot of those issues is, again, just going to kind of come down to the safety and being able to make sure that, they're not going to be able to kind of overpower me and everything like that.
Now, it is important to note that there's a few different dynamics when it comes into the actual situation with Boone, Cooper, and Bojangles at home. One, we have 3 male large dogs that probably have a little bit of power dynamics that they're struggling over at home. That's probably what's caused some of this reactivity to begin with. And of course, patterning from there is taken over. And now we have to be able to address this in an effective manner. Now, this is going to take some time. We have 2 dogs, they're very large. Obviously, their parents are having a lot of issues controlling them at home, controlling them on walks, and really the reality of this is that if we don't solve these issues now, we're not sure how long Cooper and Boone are going to be able to stay in this situation. So it's really imperative that Chase is very, very detailed on how we're addressing each one of these issues, how we're addressing the collective issue of the dogs getting along together well in the home environment, and of course, ensuring that their parents have the confidence to then take the training we've instilled and maintain that moving forward. Remember that regression happens very easily once a dog goes back home into their normal environment, especially after they've come from a very highly structured environment like at our school. So there's a lot of work to do here. Let's get started.
So I'm working with Mr. Boone here. I brought him into a private room, just, trying to get him away from as many distractions as possible. I want his main focus to hopefully be on me when we are training. So, I was working him in the training floor around the other dogs, other staff members, a lot of noise, everything going on. So in that environment, he's definitely going to struggle more with the amount of distractions, not being able to fixate on me. Right now with the 2 of these guys between Boone and Cooper is just getting them to simply want to engage and look at us. They are very dull with their training coming in. They already kind of have that foundation on them. So I haven't really had to shape too much. But I definitely, when we are working, I don't want them working for themselves. I want them understanding working for us. So that way, when we do transfer them over and transition them back to the owners, they actually want to please the owners and they're not just going through the motions to just say that they did the training. Because you can see when I'm just simply walking around with him, doing our healing him, taking him through the motions, he's very, very dull. So what I've been focused on with him right now is trying to add in a lot of energy into his training, making it more fun, incorporating a lot of that play, and that's kind of seemed to help me out. Even speeding up my fast pace when I'm healing with him, adding into that energy, that really makes it more interesting for him, more fun, which plays into the fact that, again, when he's engaged and he's doing something that he wants to, that's going to help with that engagement. So hopefully after doing this enough, teaching him that training can be a fun thing, there's a lot of rewards, a lot of positive sides when he's doing what we want, then that way, every single time I don't have to play with him and I can simply ask him for a sit and not have him completely shut down. Hi, puppy. Yeah, good boy. But I've been doing just simple stuff like this with him, a lot of tracking, a lot of changing directions. You can see when I kind of speed up my pace, how that's going to kind of amp him up a little bit. But just simple stuff like that, just having fun with him, and then making sure I always reward that engagement. Hi, puppy. Yeah, good boy. Yes, good boy. Hi. Yeah, good boy. Yes, hi. Good boy. Because now that you can see that I'm not necessarily just walking around, not offering him his reward, and having a little bit more fun, putting more energy and effort into the training session, now he's definitely a lot more curious about me, and I'm getting an easier time getting him to simply engage with me.
I always want to make sure our camp dogs are given multiple trainers to work with, and Caroline did a fantastic job working with both Boone and Cooper at the end of week 1. We really wanted to make sure we were patterning in the right boundaries and structure that they would both need before heading back home. Caroline started working both Boone and Cooper together and even went into one of our daycare yards and worked them through energy management and learning to stay nice and relaxed in a distraction-filled environment. Overall, the both of them did a fantastic job working alongside her and had a successful end of the week session.
Hi, I'm Hannah. I'm the head trainer here at Partners. I would say, considering that these guys have done camp before, they've used equipment, they've used e-collar, and somehow they found themselves back in transform camp. I think the hole in their obedience is the fact that they work for themselves and not people, trainers or their handlers, then it's getting them into trouble. So for dogs that come in that already know basic obedience, they're familiar with equipment, you can kind of see they're going through the motions and they're giving you just enough to get you off their case. So one of their biggest hurdles right now is the fact that they refuse to look at people. They refuse to look at you, which is sort of a classic sign of avoidance in dogs, stubborn dogs, dogs that, again, don't work for people. So you could see, like, Cooper in particular is food motivated. He'll take a treat from me. So he's gonna have to learn that game. He's gonna have to learn that he, yes, only gets fed and only gets treats when he makes eye contact. And eventually we're gonna, yes, transfer this into obedience. And then eventually we're also gonna transfer that into distractions. And I believe that's what's ultimately gonna set the owners up for success at home.
So now that we're a week into training, obviously we're seeing a lot of great progress in some areas, still needing to improve in the other areas that definitely have to be addressed prior to them going home, of course, but I'm very happy with what we've gotten in this first week. Now, being Great Danes, there's a couple things from the health side that we have to be mindful of. One, Great Danes have very thin skin, which means that hot spots or pressure sores can happen very quickly. And even though they're not the end of the world, they're not great to look at. And sometimes that can be a deterrent in the training process. So we want to be mindful of those. We also want to be mindful of the dogs in the sporting environment. They're going to be here for quite a few weeks and they're going to be around a lot of other dogs in that period of time. And unfortunately, just like any other school environment, if you take your kids to school, sometimes they get a cold. That sometimes can happen at our school as well. And so them being here for such a long period of time is definitely something we want to be aware of. We want to make sure that they're staying as healthy as possible so that the training stays consistent and is performing at the highest level possible. Now, of course, if any of those health issues do take place, we'll address that and we'll cover that, no problem, because at the end of the day, a healthy dog is a happy dog, which makes it easier to make a well-trained dog.
Oh, you're a little more excited today, buddy. Yeah? Hi. No. Come on. No. Cooper, heel. Yes. No. Gotta work with me, not with your brother, dude.
So during our second week, we did several training sessions with having all three of the dogs between Cooper, Boone, and Bojangles all in the same room. Anytime either Boone or Cooper did get distracted and wanted to focus in on their other siblings, we would apply a slight correction. We wanted to start teaching them to work on their own and not have any form of separation anxiety.
Cooper, sit. No, don't worry about him. You're fine. Sit. Good boy. Good boy. Yeah. You don't got to be so dependent on him, dude. Right now, just trying to make training more interesting for him. You know, going into our first week, he was definitely very dull. But, you know, definitely right now, starting to get a response to the more energy that I've been putting in, the faster motions. He's starting to warm up to us. Get a little bit of a relationship, be more motivated, starting to offer me that contact a little bit more. But I think the biggest focus on him right now is, again, just making him more interested in working, so that way the majority of the training that we're doing is actually sinking into his brain. And again, like I said before, it's not just him going through all the motions trying to get by, because again, you know, having him done training before, being so desensitized to a lot of our equipment, he definitely knows the ins and outs to our game and all of the ways to avoid everything that we necessarily need him to be doing. But again, right now, you know, it's definitely just like him giving us that 50%, and I need him at that 100% mark. So right now, again, creating a more interesting training pattern for him, I think is going to be the biggest focus for us going into the second week. But you're doing a lot better, buddy. Yeah, we have Bojangles right here in a crate as we were working with Cooper and Boone. You know, Bojangles is definitely the old man of the group. He's 8 years old, which is very old for a Great Dane. So, you know, one big thing that we're working on is definitely teaching these two big dogs how to contain their energy in the household, not be so controlling. And a huge part of that is with Bojangles, again, being his age, when they get kind of nasty with him or are trying to wrestle with him, or especially Cooper here, redirecting a lot of that energy, attacking them, him being such an old dog, that could definitely cause a lot of serious injuries. So we just definitely need to make sure they're getting desensitized, understanding the structure and the control aspect to this training around their older brother.
Now, a big thing with these very large breed animals like Great Danes, like Boone and Cooper, is really the power dynamics, that kind of power struggle when you have such a large dog next to you. Sometimes those dogs can be harder to control, harder to work with, and that can sometimes create anxiety and insecurity for their parents, which sometimes evolves into letting behaviors occur that you really shouldn't have let occur in the first place. But no problem at all. The important thing for us is to be aware of that, build that respect into Boone and Cooper, build that level of control that we know we can receive from them, and then transition that to mom and dad at home so that they can maintain that moving forward. Now, I know that sounds easy, but it's probably gonna be a little bit more difficult in practice, but we're gonna give it our best go.
So I'm about to walk into my first working demo with Cooper and Boone, and definitely before I work the dogs, I want to speak to Chris and Shaina and kind of just address a lot of the things that I have noticed between Cooper and Boone, a lot of their behaviors and everything like that. I think these two dogs coming in, they obviously, have gone through the routine, have had a lot of training, so they know everything, that I'm going to be teaching them. But I think they just are two dogs that struggle with, being told what to do, being under control and everything like that. And I can definitely, see from the little bit here, they struggle under that structure. Again, they just have no control. Very, very, shut down, struggling with engaging. So I just think, again, at home, they have so much freedom, no protocols, no rules or anything like that. They're just constantly able to get away with all these naughty behaviors, and that's just continuing to build off this patterning that I am now trying to erase. So that's something that I definitely want to put into Chris and Shaina's mind, is again, when these dogs go home, they're gonna have a lot of work to do, a lot of consistency, a lot of follow-ups, a lot of, new rules and changes in the household to make sure that all the next 4 weeks of me working with these dogs isn't just going to completely erase, and now these dogs are going to regress with these, two owners having a much more busy lifestyle. They're definitely gonna need to put in the time to make sure Cooper and Boone stay successful.
Today, what I really want to focus on is just you guys gaining control. Just because, everything that I've seen out of these dogs, I'm only imagining that they run the ship at the household. They're in control, they are total alpha dogs. I don't mean this in a negative way, but they have you guys wrapped around their finger. They have gotten away with so much at that house. I'm sure at times it's very chaotic, a lot of freedom and stuff like that. So, I know they probably understand the structure and the boundaries with you, but something needs to switch in their dog's brain. So now they don't think, oh, we're always in control, we can do whatever we want. You guys need to be able to, implement everything that we have here to kind of gain that control. So home isn't total free for all, And all of that simply starts just by having control with their obedience, their foundation, being able to, have them respond to you the first time we ask them for the commands, containing their energy and everything like that, which is really what I want to focus on today, is just because obviously, when they see you guys, they go back to that, oh my gosh, craziness, mindset. And, you saw it in the office when you saw Boone, it was very hard to kind of get him to kind of calm down when we were trying to look at him. But that's just because what life is with you guys, it's just that kind of just, and again, I don't mean this in a negative way, but it's just that, just
it's that,
so much, freedom and,
that's just like the when we get home.
Mm-hmm.
That's what but throughout the after we were home,
they settle down more.
Middle left,
good.
They're good.
Good. Okay.
But it's just
So yeah, I'll go grab them right now. At first I wanted to see again, what big of a distraction you guys are going to be when they see the both of you for the first time. Again, I don't want them thinking it's okay to completely break obedience when they see you guys and stuff like that. I want them understanding the structure, kind of containing their energy, not just, feeding into that. And then, that's usually when all of the behavior issues are going to come, when it's just that chaotic, a lot of energy and everything like that. So we know we need to focus on when they are in that mindset, not necessarily taking them out of that mindset, but again, gaining our control. So, when they're more driven up, we need to keep that, balance scale leveled out with our drive versus our control. So, I'll go grab them right now. And then, like I said, since we have 3 of these meetings, I just want to focus on control and accountability today with our obedience. Maybe we'll have some distractions walking by. I'm definitely curious the level of reactivity they would be with you guys, because I know from our check-in, that was definitely the most, off leash, just running around the room reactivity that I've seen. So maybe we'll get a little bit of that. But again, today, I just want to start small, start building up those blocks, and then, continuing going on from there. But, we're not going to be able to get into our behavioral issues if we don't have that control by just the basic obedience, that foundation, everything like that. That foundation is where we start, and then we kind of just build it on up from there. So I'll go grab them right now.
So I just finished up my first working demo with Cooper and Boone, working with Shaina and Chris. My main focus going into that working demo was teaching their owners just how to settle them down in the household environment, definitely making sure when they transition those dogs home to have a much more structured time in the house, definitely setting a lot more, rules, boundaries, giving these dogs less freedom. But, seeing them in the working demo, I definitely saw a lot of good things, but a lot of, answers to a lot of my questions as well. Cooper, when he sees the owners working with them, definitely very neutral. Coming in, I know he was definitely the worst of the 2 dogs, more behavioral issues, causing a lot of the fights, redirecting a lot of the energy, whether it's, out on the walks or when they have, mail package delivery guys, anyone knocking on the door, all the dogs, react. And then Cooper likes to redirect, start a lot of those fights. So again, coming in, he seemed like the dog that I was going to have, the most difficult time with. But seeing Boone's energy around the owners, just no control, no respect, no boundaries, anything like that, just very pushy, jumping all over them, overly excited. His focus was just, seeing the owners for the first times in 2 weeks, just totally lost his mind. Was hard for him to kind of focus on the obedience at first. Took him, much longer than Cooper to settle down and start actually, being obedient, showing, the owners everything that we've been working on the last 2 weeks. But again, seeing that, and like I was just explaining before, it seemed like Cooper had a majority of these issues, and obviously, he's the more dominant dog with more issues, starting a lot of these incidents. But, I think from just my knowledge and kind of just a little guess of, how everything looks at home, is I can only imagine, from what I saw in our training session in our training facility, just the craziness that Boone had. I can only imagine at home it's very similar. No boundaries, no respect, no protocols or anything like that. So if it's just constant chaos, and again, Boone is the much more energetic one versus Cooper, very calm, neutral and everything like that. So, I can kind of see it when they're working together. Boone is just like that annoying little brother, and Cooper has had enough of it. So in those times where, again, there's going to be those incidences, whether it's, again, out on the walks after Boone's, been reactive towards another dog or a family, or it's people rushing that front door and then they're all rushing, reacting, and Cooper starting incidents. I think a lot of that stems just from him simply being annoyed by the energy that Boone is offering all day. And again, he's kind of looking at those incidences as a weak point. Boone's going to be distracted. So again, he's going to look at that opportunity to go redirect and take advantage of that. So I think that's the biggest thing that, we need to continue working on, is just, having the 2 owners, especially the mom, in our working demo, she was explaining, she doesn't have the confidence being overly pushy, being the alpha with these 2 dogs, which I get, especially when we're working both of them together. We have upwards of 300-pound of dogs. But again, with those 2 types of dogs, 160, 130 pound, at times aggressive Great Danes, they're going to need, someone to be able to be the pack leader, to be that alpha dog, be overly pushy with them, be confident correcting. Because, if they don't have that, you can see what we're going to get. These dogs right now have Shaina and Chris just wrapped around their finger. They think they're totally in control. They're the alpha dogs. They're the ones leading, this whole family through everything. But again, that relationship and their mindset needs to switch over. But again, just teaching her, again, how to appropriately correct those dogs, manage them, keep them under control, and just containing energy is, I think, going to be our biggest, steps going into the second phase of our camp, and then making sure we transfer all of that energy management back to the home life.
Learning for 2, your dog and you, PartnersDogs.com.